All right, this is that Blackstar HT Club 40 Mark II Black and Blue Edition. The Black and Blue is one of the models that uses 6L6 versus 34s, like in the standard HT Club 40 Mark II, which is a mouthful. One of the differences between the Mark I and the Mark II is the Mark II has no bias control circuitry, no adjustable bias, that is. I don't know whether they are just biasing them very cold and trusting to tube matching, or whether there's some auto bias circuit which is doomed to fail. We will find out in time. These are still pretty new amps, and they don't release schematics for them. It's got two new fuse holders. That was pretty easy, just two soldered joints per fuse holder. About $8 a piece for the new fuse holders, which is a bit criminal for the quality you get, but that's what they spec'd out, and that's what I've got in here. And everything seems to be okay. Let me turn this around so we can see the front panel controls, and we'll go through the sounds real fast though. Let me show this. This reverb button, right now it's set to light. Now it's set to dark. At various times I might reach around and push a button on the back. That's what I'll be pushing. All right, so let's see what this sounds like. This is my other Strat, the one with the floating bridge, and Sir Thornbucker in the bridge, and Mojo Tone Quiet Coil 67s in the neck and middle. So I'm starting neck middle. Let's do some clean stuff. I don't know how that's going to come across here. Reverb is okay. It doesn't sound like a real tank. It doesn't sound too digital. It doesn't sound as good as most digital pedals these days. This amp does have an effects loop though, so. And the reverb is global, so wherever you set it, it's going to be on both channels. You know, that's a strength and a weakness depending on your taste and how it works, how you use the amp. It's got this 40 watt, 4 watt power switch. In yesterday's video on that Swart Space Tone, which is a 5 watt amp, I said you really need to go up to about 50 watts before you're like, yeah, that's definitely louder. And here's that same 4 watt to 40 watt difference with the master volume there at about 1 o'clock. So it's louder, but it's not take your head off louder. People are always surprised by how much or how little difference wattage makes. The speaker efficiency and the number of speakers are just as important. Now, I'm running this through my 2x12, and I have the bass. I find the bass gets a little bit boomy above 10 o'clock there. Through the single 12 it comes with, which has a vintage 30. It might be a little less boomy than the 2x12, but you know, that's all subjective. That's with the voice button out and the green light on. Voice in, or just different voice. All right, the green light off seems to have less mids. And that's a slight mid boost, I think. Let's see if it affects the treble as well. Yeah, it's the mid-range affects that treble as well. At some points, I'm likely to be clipping the lav mic, and I apologize about that. All right, let's go to a bridge humbucker and switch over to the Overdrive channel, which also has 2 voices, and it has a separate tone stack. All right, I went to the Overdrive channel and quickly realized I was clipping the mic too much, so I've backed it off. I'm gonna do that again. The part that you don't get to hear because it was clipping is where I discovered what this ESP knob does, or is it FSP? ISF. It seems to be a low mid-range filter kind of thing. It's more audible when the voice is on the red mode, which I don't care for the sound of. Red definitely has a lot more gain. I mean, look where this knob stayed for that. For more Marshally stuff, definitely not in the red. This amp's a bit of a mixed bag, has a lot of different features. I do think the Marshall DSL 40 has a better implementation of similar features and is a better built amp. This one has a better reverb, still not a great reverb, but both of them have very good effects loops. I see why people like this. I see why this appeals to people. I just, based on the other ones that have come in, I have doubts about their longevity. While it's in warranty, that's great. As soon as it leaves warranty, will the board still be available? Will the board be available at any reasonable cost to replace? Because a lot of the stuff on this is not designed to be field serviced. A lot of surface mount stuff, and they don't give out the schematic. So could I fix it? Yeah. But it may take me 3 hours to trace out the schematic to figure out which component is necessary to change out. This one, let me see, in comparison to the previous Mark I, is not as bad at what I call Manhattaning, which is when you have a bunch of surface mount components surrounded by tall through-hole components like capacitors, which means that in order to reach the taxi cab down on the street, you've got to go between the narrow gap between all the skyscrapers surrounding it. So in that sense, it's an improvement. It does have a little DSP daughter board. These things do tend to fail in amps, and hopefully it will be made available even after these amps are replaced with some other model, and these are all out of warranty. So, I see why people like it. There's a lot to like here. It does not sound bad. I mean, with just a few little tweaks, it's very versatile. It promises an awful lot. Based on my experience and what I've seen from my peers, other techs and I, we talk, we share notes on these things. Hey, has anyone seen this before? Oh my God, look what this amp did. Blackstars are just notorious for unearned failures. So, if you buy one, that's great. I hope it lasts forever for you and you never have a moment's problem with it. I don't hate Blackstar. Based on my experience and those of other techs, I find the Marshall DSL 40 to be a safer bet. But, you may like the sound of this better. And, it's your money. Do with this information as you will. I just find that this is a bunch of good ideas executed at the lowest price possible. And sometimes that really bites you on the butt.